Hello. So before we start this video, everything I talk about here presumes that you have already done the reading for this unit. So if you have not looked at the vocab and done the second reading in Unit 7, so starting on page 167, please do that now. So I'll pause a moment so you can do it. Okay, otherwise none of this will make much sense. Okay, welcome back. So we're going to think about the vocab first for our second reading. So firstly, let's think about our meanings and our collocations. So quite a few words on this vocab list. They have more general meanings, but remember we're looking at the meaning specifically for this situation, for this context. So the first one is a very good example of that, which is the word movement. Okay, so your first idea is probably movements, like moving arms, moving the body. However, take another look. So in paragraph 1 of the reading, take another look at movement and think about what does it mean specifically for this context. Okay, so also have a look at give back. So again, in this case, does not mean give back like, give back my book or something. It's got a different meaning here. So have a look at paragraph 1. And we have focus. So look at the collocations there. So what language is connected to that? So paragraph 5, paragraph 7, we have different collocations there. So look at both of those. We have address. Okay, so notice that this is a verb. Okay, so we're not talking address like a building number or your home address. So this is a verb, so have a look at that in the context of the writing, of the reading, and think about what that means. Concern. Okay, so look at what words are connected to concern. And same, inspired. So look at the language that is connected to inspired. So that's paragraph 9, paragraph 8. Okay, so again, take a moment, have a look at those, and think about what do those words mean in this situation, in this context. Okay, so I'll just give you a moment just to look at those, so I'll be quiet. Okay, so let's start with our first one then. So we have give back. So we notice that in this case it says give back to someone or something. But again, when we're not talking about like returning some kind of property, this has more a feeling of helping someone who helped you. So for example, your parents probably have done a lot to help you in your life. They've paid for things, they've supported you, they've driven you places. So when they get older, if you help them, or if you buy them a vacation or buy them a car or pay for some special hospital treatment, in English you can say you give back, which means you're kind of helping someone who has helped you. So it can be a person, or it can be a group of people, like a society. So if you come from quite a poor area, but you become, successful financially, then maybe you give back to your community. You in some way help them. Maybe you provide some kind of service or donations, things like that. So note that give back here is not about physically returning something. Okay, and notice the preposition is give back to. So give back to someone, to something. All right, moving on. So we have focus of and focus on something. Okay, so focus of is the people who are focusing, and focus on is the topic. So for example, the focus of this presentation, or you can say this presentation will focus on charity, for example. So focus on is the topic, and focus of would be the people or the organization. So the focus of this organization is charity, but this organization focuses on charity. Okay, so on would be the topic, of would be the person or organization that is doing the focusing. All right, next up we have address. Okay, so address comes with something negative usually. So address in this case means to discuss something. So for example, to deal with or discuss something. And it's usually negative. So for example, to address an issue, or address a problem, or address a complaint. So it means to discuss or deal with. But it's often with negative things is how it's usually used. Okay, so again, notice this is a verb, and it in this situation it means to discuss or deal with. All right, next up we have concern. All right, so how do we use this in a sentence? So we have to be concerned about something. Okay, so we need two parts to this. We need to be. So I am, you are, he is, concerned about, and then something or someone. Okay, so in this case the preposition is about, and we also need to be. Okay, so I am, you are, he is, etc. Similarly with inspired. So to be inspired by, okay, we have exactly the same thing. So we have to be at the start, but in this case the preposition is by. So inspired by. So I am inspired by, you are inspired by, we are inspired by. Okay, and then something. So to be concerned about, to be inspired by. Okay, so we have two different prepositions there. Okay, so the last one to think about is movement. So in this case, movement does not mean a physical movement, like moving a body or moving a machine. Movement in this case is a social or political group. So this is a group of people, all with a common goal, with the same idea of what they want, and usually it is social or political. So we would talk about like Black Lives Matter, for example, is a movement, right? They have a common goal, and it's a group of people, and it's usually political or social. You want some kind of social change or political change, and so that is called a movement. Okay, so again, it is the same word as movement, but in this case it has a different meaning. Okay, so again, just a reminder that when we're looking at this vocab, familiar words might have a different meaning in different contexts, so just be careful. Okay, the second thing we will think about for this unit is dependent clauses, the cause and effect. So a dependent clause is, for example, this. So when I got home. Okay, but when I got home, what happened? So this is not a complete idea. So this is what's called a dependent clause. So it has to connect to an independent clause in order to make sense. So this on its own kind of does not have a meaning. It's like saying, so I did. So, well, well, what? Why? That's an incomplete idea. So we're going to look at dependent clauses using these little useful words for starting or connecting. So we have since, because, when, and our old friend if. Okay, so we can use these for dependent clauses, and we can use them to connect and make them full, complete ideas. So, since it cost a lot of money, I didn't buy it. So, if we just use since it cost a lot of money, that's not a complete idea. We don't know what the end of that idea is. So, dependent clauses cannot exist as a sentence. They must be connected to a main idea, an independent clause. Here's another example. So, because it happened early, we solved the problem easily. Okay, so again, if you just say, because it happened early, well, what does that mean? That's not a complete idea. What does that mean? Okay, so we can use these to express cause and effect. So if we have our cause and our effect. So for example, since companies expect more qualifications. Okay, and again, on its own, that does not really mean anything, right? Because we don't understand the context. Okay, but we're starting with our word since. So since companies expect more qualifications. Okay, so what is the effect? Well, the effect is people study until they are 26 or 27. So maybe companies are expecting not just university degree, but an MBA, a master's degree, or some kind of vocational training even. Okay, so we have our cause. So since companies expect more qualifications, and the effect, people study until they are 26 or 27. All right, let's look at another example. Because a lot of influencers use filters. What? Okay, so again, the dependent clause on its own does not really mean anything. Okay, so that was the cause. What is the effect? So people feel ugly. Okay, so because a lot of influencers use filters, people feel ugly. So the cause and the effect. All right, let's have one more. So if university students have more work experience, okay, so what is the effect? They may change their career goals. So your intended career, if you actually get experience, you might change your mind. You might think, this is not what I thought it was, so I'm going to change my career a little bit. Okay, so this is expressing the cause and effect. So you can also check the examples and explanations from inside Unit 8, in Unit 7. Okay, so you can get other examples and a longer explanation there also. So one example of how we can use this is if we're describing the unintended consequences of something. So maybe there's a rule or a law or an action, and what they wanted to get from that was actually not what they got from it. And so we can show the cause and effect from in this. So for example, the result is not what we wanted or not what we expected. So the result is unintended. So for example, so the government raises tax on cigarettes and alcohol to make more money. So many people buy cigarettes, many people buy alcohol. So the intention is to make more money through tax, right? People pay more for cigarettes, pay more for alcohol. So the intended consequence is they make money from tax, make more money. But the unintended consequence is that people just buy less because it's more expensive. Instead of 3 bottles of alcohol, they just buy 2. So actually the government makes less money because they raised the tax up. So we can express this using our cause and effect language. So because prices went up, people bought less alcohol and cigarettes, and the government made less money. Okay, so we can see exactly that cause and effect for the unintended consequences. So because the price went up, people bought less alcohol and cigarettes. Okay, so again, check in the textbook. There are other examples of this and how we can use this to express these kind of ideas. Okay, so in this video, we looked at our vocab. So movement, meaning a group with a common goal. Give back, meaning to help somebody who helped you. Focus of, focus on. Address, and then something negative. Concern, be concerned about. Inspired, be inspired by something, someone. And we looked at dependent clauses using since, because, when, and if. And especially for discussing the cause and effect of something, where the dependent clause uses since, because, if, and when. And we can even use this to explain the unintended consequences of something. So the result is not what we wanted or expected. Okay, so that's it for this video. Please complete any of the other tasks that are on your list. All right, thanks for watching. Cheers.